no one was going to come and save me. We were losing money. I didn't know why. My husband was working incredibly hard. We don't have enough money, and he would hear, I'm not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. He's already working 20 hours a day, and so are all our guys. But we're not getting ahead. We're not making any money. This is a math problem. It's not a do what you love and the money will follow situation. It's none of that. It's just like you're not charging more than it costs you to be in business. Charge more than it costs is what my mentor taught me. And that changed my life. And I'm going, no, I went to college. There's this thing called the going rate. There's what the market will bear. There's this understanding that, customers are only going to pay so much for whatever. None of that is true. The things that we've been told don't hold up and make things so much harder.
Ellen, welcome to the show. First and foremost, just thanks for being here. I mean, we had such a great conversation in the 10 minutes that we've been talking before we hit the record button, but just thank you so much.
I feel like we are kindred spirits already. I'm very excited about our conversation today.
Me too. So I want to lead off with a question. I typically moving into these interviews, I do about 2 to 3 hours of research, and dig up as much as I can find. And it really depends on how busy I am the day before. I do. This is a hobby for me. I love having these conversations. This is what I would do. You know how people say that one thing that you would do for the rest of your life for free? This is it. I absolutely love it. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I was on your website.
Me too, though. I like conversation, and I love that you have a long format. I like to go beyond the surface stuff. I'm too old to waste time in meaningless things.
Yeah.
So this is important, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, I'm so excited. So I was on your website, and I was kind of doing some research, and something caught my eye. And you say on the website at one point, I think it might be in the About Me section or somewhere where people can learn about you. You call it uncomplicating business, right? And the key is to focus on these few things that have the biggest impact in your results. But then you end that paragraph by saying business is easy.
Yeah.
And I paused, which I'm sure was the intent, right? But I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at my own business and what I've built and the conversations that I have on the show. And I don't know that I've once said business is easy. And so I want to unpack that a little bit first and foremost before we get into anything else. Why is business easy, Ellen?
Well, do you know Jim Rohn?
Mm-hmm.
Jim Rohn, great business philosopher. He said he defines easy as something you can do. And you can do every bit of it. There are a lot of things to do, but none of them are hard. They all come down to one more phone call, one more knock on the door, one more visit. But no individual piece of this is hard, meaning like just ridiculous, like a mountain you can't climb. You just are going to chunk it up and do it. And I think it came from how many millions of networking things and conventions and seminars have you been to at this phase of your life? And there's always some old fart telling a 21-year-old kid how hard it is. Just because it was hard for that person doesn't mean it's going to be hard for you. And there's another quote I really love that says, leaders are visionaries with no concept of the odds against them. Mm-hmm. And Robert Jarvik, who created the artificial heart, which has never really worked, but led to so much in the STEM world in terms of advancement. Leaders are visionaries with no concept of the odds against them. I have found that being smart is not an advantage in business. Being persistent, being resilient, having a good self-esteem. These are characteristics that are way more important than brains. So, it's helpful and it's fun to be a thoughtful, smart person. But so often, I think we make it harder than it really needs to be. I mean, in business, there's going to be 3 main KPIs: sales, profits, and cash. I've gone into businesses before where there's entire walls filled with screens with KPIs that what are the main ones? What's your one KPI, like key performance indicator? What's your one statistic that's going to tell you if you had a good day or that you're working on right now that's going to make an impact on your customers or the company or your own personal development? Like, I think we overcomplicate this over and over again. And now that I've moved into the private equity world, and I've been at a lot of big tables, and I'm listening to these guys with their spreadsheets and their projections. I'm telling you, it comes down to sales, profit, and cash. Those are the metrics that all those sub metrics are supposed to be shedding light on, but I don't think you need them all.
Sales, profit,
Sales,
and
profit, and
cash.
cash.
That's
Those are the
amazing.
biggies. Yeah.
Well, geez, I wish somebody would have told me this 20 years
This
ago.
what
Yeah.
everything they did not tell you.
That's exactly right. So you said something there. I wanna before I've got this long list of questions I want to ask you, but this is what happens on the show. I research for 2 hours. I don't use any of this shit. So um so you said it's really about being persistent, resilient, and having good self-esteem. I want to dig into that. Oh, go ahead.
And maybe even one more. Senior to all that is this clarity of intention. Like, what do you want? What do you want? And if
Mm,
you set a point on the horizon, and it's always completely arbitrary, what you want out of life is up to you, and there are a million right answers. So you pick something that you want, and then you boldly march in that direction. Another Jim Rohn-ism is
mhm.
not for what's at the end of that journey or the $1 million or the $1 billion or whatever, but for what it will make of you in the attempt, for the hero's journey.
That's so amazing. I just posted something on LinkedIn the other day that said the reward in business isn't oh gosh, what was it? The reward is in business isn't what you get, it's who you become.
It's who you become.
Yeah.
It's who you become. Allie Brown said, I'm going to quit quoting everybody, but that's how I learn. I'm talking to smart
Yeah.
people. I'm going to be quoting you on that. Allie Brown said the best self development program you could take is a business of your own. Like it'll bring
Mm,
out so much if you allow it. It'll give you so much opportunity to grow as a
yeah.
human being.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I want to pick on one of those things, and
Okay.
we'll probably get to all of them throughout the show. But the one that stood out to me was having good self-esteem, and I think it stood out to me because in today's world, that has, uh, I think, been more of a problem. I guess I don't know. I'm just kind of saying what comes to my mind. But in the world of social media, where we're constantly, especially the younger generations, they're comparing themselves to everybody else, right? The person who just started a landscaping company is comparing themselves to a multi-billion-dollar, organization that's been rolled up 18 times by PE. And they're saying, well,
Yeah.
why aren't I making $600 million a year? And this self-esteem seems to take a hit before it can even gain traction. So help me understand why that's so important and what we can do as business owners to keep that intact.
Well, and you and I are also very born in the trades, or
Mhm.
bred in the trades, and tradespeople certainly have my heart when it comes to business. I married a plumber. That's how I got introduced to the trades, and I heard this once upon a time that at some point, like in the trades, let's just stick there for a second.
Yeah.
You're going to wear a patch with your name on it, or you're going to wear a tie.
Mhm.
And there's this separation right there that the tie guys are somehow better, going to make more money, going to have more prestige. And that certainly will complement their self esteem. Like if you're taking that path, you're going to go to college, you're going to be a professional in business, and then you're going to be a tradesperson. Certainly when I was growing up, and I could be your mother, there was this idea that the trades was a lesser than choice. Now, luckily, it's not that right now. Like we are living in a revolution of the tradespeople now kind of moving up the ladder in the world of
Mhm.
AI and everything else. So that's good news. But there's still there's still a lot of stigma associated with certain jobs. And I think that that's sometimes hard to shake. I think every day we want to look for ways that we can add color context to the honorable essential work that we do in the trades. And that applies to any business, particularly businesses that are going to thrive in the days to come. Like
Hmm.
I work with Service Titan. I am all in on AI. I'm seeing amazing ways that it can help us with the things that technicians don't love to do. The paperwork, the housekeeping, accessing information, documenting things, but the drain cleaner still has to show up.
That's right.
I have a drain cleaning company. I'm a founder and one of the owners of Zoom Drain, and I love drain cleaning. I didn't think I would. Like when I was a kid, I didn't that didn't come up. Wanted to be an actress, so this is closer, Josh,
Yeah,
to
there you
what
go.
to my basic
No
personality.
wonder why you love doing
I
podcasts. It's
love it.
all making sense now.
I put makeup on. So, yeah, so, this idea of, the path that you choose being inherently better, that comparison, especially in
Hmm.
today's world, is such a problem.
Yeah.
So finding ways to help each other, improve self-esteem. One of the things I think that's important is that we get more disciplined about our language. Like when someone says, "I'm just a plumber," I'm like,
Hmm.
"Just? What?" I would encourage you not to say that anymore, would be my
Yeah.
response.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that just to find ways to remind people of what it is that they do and how important it is one tiny step towards, um, solving. I don't know that we'll solve the problem, but for mitigating the problem.
But
Also, I
helping.
think it's one of the reasons why, you know, most business owners don't make the money they deserve for the
Mhm.
risk and the responsibility and for the risk number 1, like, for putting it on the line every day like that. And I think that has more to do with self-esteem than the math.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Sidebar, have you
Okay.
by chance read my book? The,
No,
Blue is the New White? Okay, I'm gonna get you a copy after this because
please,
I'll
I'm sorry, I should
no,
have
no,
read
no.
that.
No, please
Okay.
don't be. No,
Blue
I
is the new
ask
white. Yeah.
I ask because a lot of the things that you're saying align so well. I published this book back in 2019. It's called Blue is the New White: The Best Path to Success That Nobody Told You About Until Now, and it's all about the blue collar skilled trades.
So
And
you were prescient, you were ahead of the curve here.
I'd like to think so. We have gotten it adopted into probably up to 600, 5 or 600 high schools across the country now, which is great.
Oh,
It's in a lot of libraries. I mention it, not only for you because you're speaking a lot of the same things that I write in the book, but also for my audience. I don't talk about the book much on the show, but if anybody out there resonates with what Ellen just said, obviously there's going to be contact information at the end of the show, but pick up this book too because it is exactly that, right?
yeah.
And we can get into more of that later. But
I
I
love that.
appreciate.
Okay, it's on my list now.
I'll
Thank
send you.
you.
I'll send you a
Okay.
copy.
Aw.
No, this is great. Okay, so I want to kind of move forward from here. I've got a million questions, but this is one that's stuck with me, right? And it was in the same realm as business is easy, but the work can be difficult. So I would say most business owners work incredibly hard, and they still feel like something isn't adding up. So, what's the most common financial truth that owners are avoiding when they say the numbers just don't make sense? Because I've heard this 1,000 times and I know you have too.
I think they think that. I don't know. I'm proposing that people think that because it doesn't come naturally or easy to them. And there's then this assumption that for some people, the numbers are easy. They were like born with this information. But nobody is born with the knowledge of understanding a balance sheet and a profit and loss. Not one person in the world was born with that as a talent. Like you might be physically talented and be able to run fast. This is not like that. You might have depending on your personality map, like, working genius or disc, if you're into these things that I think are really useful tools, you might have an affinity for tidy tidiness, or
Hmm.
numbers or a Sudoku or a game like that. Maybe you have some affinity for numbers or math, but you still won't know what a balance sheet and a profit and loss is until somebody teaches you. And this is where, when my mentor, once upon a time, showed me, I mean, a lot went into it. I fought it. I didn't want to. Back in the day, we didn't use words like dyslexia or challenged.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just couldn't look at a spreadsheet, or I didn't go from left to right or top to bottom. I just didn't think like that. So I also don't even have the learning skills to be good at this. But what happened with my mentor is he just showed me how to read his financial statement. So, I mean, how generous is this? I found this guy, this old man. He's going to be 100 years old next month.
No
My
way.
mentor, Frank,
Oh my gosh.
still bossing me and everybody around. But he showed me how, what a balance sheet was, what a profit and loss was. And he just kind of stuck with me elbow to elbow. We used a fax machine and the phone, and he would send me his financials and it have me go line by line. I used a ruler, and he just showed me how to read them. And my motivation came from finally discovering that no one was going to come and save me. We were losing money. I didn't know why. My husband was working incredibly hard. I would say, we don't have enough money, and he would hear, I'm not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. He's already working 20 hours a day, and so are all our guys. But we're not getting ahead. We're not making any money. And so Frank is the one who taught me, this is a math problem. It's not a do what you love and the money will follow
Mm,
situation. It's none of that. It's just like, you're not charging more than it costs you to be in business.
mhm,
Charge more than it costs is what my mentor taught me.
mm.
And that changed my life. And I'm going, no, no, I went to college. There's this thing called the going rate. There's what the market will bear. There's this understanding that, customers are only going to pay so much for whatever. None of that is true. None of that is
Yeah.
true. It all is these things that we've been told that don't hold up and make things so much harder. So that's where that kind of is my journey in a nutshell. As I reached out, not unlike a podcast. Back in the day, we just had trade magazines.
Yeah.
So I met my mentor through the pages of Plumbing and Mechanical magazine. I'm sure you subscribe, And then I wrote him a letter, told him everything he wrote was wrong. He was rich, I'm broke, but I'm telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about. That kind of thing. And then we ended up, in spite of all odds, developing this friendship. And he said, I'll teach you if you would just drop that so much. Because I'd been to
Mm.
college. Being smart was not helpful to me. It was
Yeah.
a deterrent in me just going back to basics and figuring things out. But I'm forever grateful for Frank. I like to mention him whenever I have the opportunity.
Well, I
So,
appreciate that. And that's a
yeah.
great segue into the next question,
Okay.
which is what is something that our audience thinks they understand, but they might be getting wrong?
I think that they think they're supposed to naturally pick it up. Like, even when Frank sat next to me and I tell the story, then I talked to Frank and it took me a year
Mm.
of, like, first off, fighting it, fighting it, fighting it. I don't want to do it. Can't someone else do this for me? And then just, okay, you know, no one's coming to save me on this was really what came to mind. Like,
Mhm.
this is my money and I don't like being broke. And if I go out of business following this man's advice, I'll go get a job, but I'm not doing this anymore for this outcome.
Yeah.
And now that's like, if you're an alcoholic, I was at a low bottom before I straightened up. It was a low bottom for me, but I had nothing to lose. All I was doing is going into debt every month. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to keep doing this. So if this guy seems to have a clue, I'm going to follow his advice. I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to raise my prices and no one will call me. And then I'll go get a job. That was
Yeah.
really, so I think I was thinking what a lot of folks do. I'm not good at this. I wish someone else would do it for me. But if I can learn it, anybody can learn it. So then it was almost like when the lights started to come on for me, double entry accounting. If something goes up, something else has to go up or something else has to go down. Like I started to get like the biology of it.
Mm.
The balance sheet is based on a universal equation of what comes around goes around. For every action, there's a reaction. It's an equation. And all of a sudden it dawned on me that it was like a universal truth. And I dug it. And different people have just not everyone feels that way about the balance sheet, but that was my like, okay. And then once I started to get it, I'm like, how do people not know this? But that was my experience is like that somehow you're good at it or you're bad at it. That's not the case. It's a course of study and you have to study it long enough until you get it. And if you're a business owner, I suggest it's your job to understand it or your responsibility to go get a job.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Now, how
sense.
did you learn it? Like
I'm so
what
glad you asked.
yeah, like what was your journey?
You know, it was so I started off as a technician in the field, and
Mhm.
and we won't get into my whole background, but I was a stuntman for the first portion of my
Of
life
course you were.
in California. Obviously, you knew that. Everybody knew that, right? That's what you do after high school. You didn't know.
Well, hot rod joined the circus. My husband was a
Oh,
stunt
okay.
car driver. Yeah.
There you
So
go.
there you
We
go. I
probably
love
know some
that.
of the same people. I know a lot of the drivers in the industry, but wouldn't it be funny if I knew your husband? Um,
We're old. I'm just telling you.
That's
He
all
was
right.
old school.
I
Yeah.
hung out with those. My whole that was the original family business. But anyway,
And
I so
we'll break it down later.
yeah, after I stepped out of that, I went through a huge identity crisis and became a technician first and foremost, and then began to see the opportunity in it. And that's when I started to say, okay, how do I turn this, one man, two man operation, me and my dad at the time, into something bigger and better. And that's when I started pouring myself into learning the numbers. I never went to college or anything, learning the numbers, talking to people smarter than me, and specifically with what you were talking about. I love what you said, the biology of the balance sheet. I'm going to probably use that a lot.
I
But
don't think I've ever said it before, but I like it.
yeah, you should write that down. So this was the one of the most difficult pieces for me to understand, right? Even though at the heart of it, it's simple, it was overwhelming, right? And so, so you got the P&L, the balance sheet, cash flow statements. P&L was okay, understood that first. Balance sheet, what really clicked for me with the balance sheet is when somebody said, "Josh, it's actually really simple. It's what you owe and what you own." I said, "Oh, all right."
Equals what you have.
Equals what you have, right?
Equals what you have.
And
Mhm.
so that, once I started to wrap my mind and my arms around that, I was able to truly start understanding. But that probably wasn't until, I don't know, 5 or 6 years after I started like turning wrenches, that I was able to understand. And for me, it was that overwhelm. It was that you don't know what you don't know, so it's got to be complicated.
And I think that you probably dug into it at 9 p.m.,
Yes,
like
that's true.
after a full day's work. One thing when you said that though about understanding, especially as a technician does a lot more math than there is in financials, but it's drains and vents. Like you can't have a drain without a vent. For every action, there's a reaction. If you get a truck, well, how did you get the truck? Like there's a lot of parallels with these universal laws that
Hmm.
may help you key into it. Like that's where I found the beauty of it. And as a technician, that's where you might find, okay, I know math. Like that makes sense to me. If
Yeah.
it's not going to flow unless it goes. Like there's both of those
Yeah.
things. So that's cool. Did you have a mentor or a book or a class that you took that really opened things up for you?
Not really. I mean, from a technician standpoint, it was my dad. But my dad will be the first one to tell you he's not a businessman.
Mhm.
So I was the one with the aspirations to do business. But no, I'll be honest. It was, I think we were talking before we hit the record button. That the best teacher is business. Like actually doing it. That was
Mhm.
me. I didn't really have somebody. It wasn't until about, geez, I don't know, 5 years ago that I discovered peer groups like Vistage and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's about the time I started the podcast, got to have incredible conversations like this. You couldn't pay me to read a book in high school, Ellen. Like that was not in
Not
my MO.
happening.
But once I hit 21, 22 years old, you couldn't pry the books from my hands. I mean, if I pan the camera just this way, you'd see 400 books on this shelf over here.
Great.
Um, so that's where I derive a lot of my information today. And conversations like this, I have done interviews like this 215 times now. And the
Cool.
amount of knowledge that I'm able to extract, like take out the fact that I get to broadcast this to thousands of people, right? What I gain from it, from a business aspect, from a personal growth aspect, has been everything in my development.
I love that. Yeah, and then talking to other people, and I've had so many generous people help me out.
Hmm.
Like, I think sometimes we struggle alone when if
Yeah.
we just asked. And, here's another thing I got, another piece of advice I got along the way. Like, when one of the adventures I've gone on in my career is I was employee number 1 at Benjamin Franklin the Punctual Plumber, which is now this massive franchise, and I'm super proud of being the 0 to 1 girl in this, in that company. But my mentor at the time said, first of all, Jim Abrams taught me a ton about intention. Never bet against Jim Abrams. If he sets his sight on something, it is going to happen.
Hmm.
He's just that good at understanding the power, like of setting your sights and being clear on what you want. He said, we are going to sell this company. He said, we're going to sell it in no more than 10 years for $100 million. And here's what I want you to know, because I'm in over my head. I'm the president. Because when you're the first guy in, you can call yourself anything. So I picked president. And he's trying to encourage me that, like, you're going to make some mistakes. He said, we will sell it. At that time, there will be a dozen things fatally wrong with the company. Fatally wrong with the company. It'll still be worth $100 million because it'll be able to generate cash and profit,
Mm.
sales, profits, and cash. It doesn't have to be perfect. Keep the main thing in mind as we grow. And like 8 years later, they sold it for 189 million with a couple other companies that they had packaged together. And it wasn't lost on me. And there were some problems I created that were potentially fatally wrong with that company. So it's good to have these reassurances that as you do it, as you learn it, it's not about being perfect. It's about being good enough. I think that's another thing that we make too hard. When someone has a mission statement that it's never good enough, I'm thinking, oh, I wouldn't want to work for you.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
exhausting.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I mean, honestly, it goes against what we hear all the time. This narrative out there is you have to do this, you have to do this, and then go down the list of 1,000 different things that you need to get right in
Yeah,
business. And you just squash all of that by saying, listen, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to make money.
yeah,
And obviously some other things, but like it doesn't have to be perfect is the
yeah.
message.
In fact, it's in those imperfections. Your book probably tells the hard, those moments where it didn't work.
Yeah.
But that's what makes a good story.
Yeah.
That's where the lessons come in. That's where the character is built. That's where, again, like micromanaging owners, not sharing anything with their team members. Why? Because they did it all right. Like, let your team fail a bit and find those adventures and journeys. And unless you kill a man, and that could happen,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, that can
Yeah.
happen. But
Can.
other than that, it's reversible for the most part. You make a mistake and whoa, that didn't work, and you go in another direction. So I think that's another thing that audiences may be getting wrong, that somehow there's a path out there that's A, B, C, or D. And if you go to enough conventions, read enough books, talk to enough guys, you're going to avoid the mistakes that they made. But, like, do you even want to?
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, if we can stop, I think I can fix that light now that's in my
Oh,
face.
no problem. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Yeah,
The
no,
sun
you're
just
all right.
came up in Utah, and I can do one more thing here that I think is going to help. Does that work?
Yeah, I think so. Got
I
it
think
off
it
the
did
wall there.
too. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That should be
Check
off
that
of
out.
me.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Good.
perfect. That's
Yay.
great.
All right. Good. Good. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Thanks,
All right.
studio, for helping us figure that out.
All right. So this is a good segue then, and I'm gonna bring this back to something that I experienced personally, back in my early days of starting my business, and for reference, I run a commercial HVAC, refrigeration, and kitchen equipment company here in Arizona.
And you still
Um,
do that now.
Still, that's my day job. Yes.
That's so good. It keeps you relevant. Like
Yes.
if you I think that I'm becoming irrelevant. That's why I go on ride-alongs. Like when you're not in the day to day, like a week in, you
Yeah.
become irrelevant as you
No,
go. So yes,
absolutely.
I think that makes you really relevant's the best word I can think of.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
so what I'll say about this is confusion, whether self-inflicted or not, protects us from responsibility. Where do you,
Wow.
where do you see owners using this complexity that we spoke about to avoid facing reality?
Yeah. Oh, that's really a profound way to say it. I've heard something similar when they say a confused buyer doesn't buy. Like if we go
Hmm.
on the job and we give all these options and never stop talking, and there's all these it's technical jargon, the customer is going to go, oh, okay, okay, I'm going to think about it, right? I get that, and what I'm hearing is that the same thing can happen in business. I've got to do this, and this, and then we become just frozen
Yeah,
with what
or we
really
use it,
matters.
we hide behind it.
We hide
And
behind it.
that self-esteem thing, and we say, we push it off. I'm
Yeah.
confused, so I'm not going to focus on it.
Well, let's look at what your job is as the owner. Let's talk about that. Because again, I think there
Mm,
is this inherent responsibility as a business owner to be a good steward of the money. So I don't think you can say in good conscience that I can't do the money. I love every other part of business, but I'm not going to do the money. That's like your primary job as an owner is to assume the risk and be the financial manager. So it's your chips on the table. It's your job to pay attention to the money. So I would say the owner only has two jobs that they can't shed, and one would be financial manager, and the other would be the visionary. Where
mm,
are we going with this thing? And you can get input on the financial side. You can get help with the day to day, with the bookkeeping. When you're crafting your vision, you should talk to your team right along and see where they want to go and craft a vision that might be more inclusive if you want other people to travel this journey with you. But those two responsibilities are the owner. You're the one who finally says, that's where we're going. We're
yeah,
going to 10 million or a billion, or we're going to be the number one here, or we're going to have the highest customer rating, or we're going to give more away than anybody else. Whatever you choose is arbitrary. We're making this all up. And the game becomes, could you make it compelling enough and fiscally responsible enough to actually make a difference in people's lives, to move forward with it? Because if you go out of business or you run out of cash, it's your fault.
yeah.
It doesn't make you a terrible human being. It just means like you blew it. All right, well, do better. Do
S-
better next time. I mean, at least they don't cut your arm off for going into debt in this country. But the problem is there's really a disconnect between this responsibility and what the reality of it is. Like you can go
mhm,
way into debt in the US and we will prop you up. Your supplier will keep selling to you. The credit cards will keep coming in your mailbox. Like it is easy to shirk this responsibility, that's for sure.
yeah,
And it's worthwhile to figure it out and find the freedom that comes from knowing your asset from your elbow. I mean, it's worth
yeah.
it to take this journey. And if you really, really don't want to do it, go work for someone else who does.
Fair point. So that begs the question, right? I mean, money problems are rarely math problems. So how
Yeah. Oh,
does
you mean
this
like understanding the math? It's not, the math is
right?
not hard.
Like when
Yeah.
somebody says I have money problems, it's rarely because of the math. It's right. I mean, we were kind of talking about this before. So how does this mindset show up in decisions and profit and cash flow?
It's the first step to like I admit I'm powerless over my financials.
Okay, okay.
First step is, okay, I don't know what I don't know.
Mhm.
It's time for me to figure this out, and I'm going to need some help, which is the second step, right? So you're going to reach out to help for someone, and that could be a book, that could be talking to your accountant for the first time for real. Like, I do not know what I'm looking at. I want you to sit down with me, elbow to elbow. What is this? What, line by line? I call this getting to a known financial position, or KFP. So the first step is just understanding where you are and fixing your financial reports. You don't have to do this alone. You can't do it alone. You are going to need somebody to help you. If you have no money, go find a generous soul. Go find someone you know in your life who's got this figured out, a retired person. There's always resources. And for me, and this is why you do what you do, I suspect, is a lot of people gave you a lot, and this is a way for you to give back. Right? So, like, just getting over that, okay, I'm going to learn it. I remember to this day that feeling that I took a deep breath like that. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. After fight, looking around, trying to hand it off. Just, I have to do it. I have to figure this out. And then once I started that and let go of how hard it was going to be and all that, it wasn't hard. It was
Yeah.
actually kind of, it was like a game. It was like a puzzle, figuring out how the things went and having the light bulbs go on and on. As you start to get good at something, it's very confidence building. Winning breeds confidence. So, like, I
Mm.
got more and more excited about it. It's not that hard. That's why I wrote those skinny books. Where'd the money go? Accounting Basics for the Business Owner Who Wants to Get Profitable. Like, I wish someone had written that book. That's why I wrote it. Like, that would have been helpful. So, as I started to learn it, it just got clearer to me that this is a big problem, like emperor's new clothes. And I'm gonna share what I learned. I kind of lost thread of what the first question was.
No, that's okay. There was so much value in that response. I just kept listening.
What
Here,
were you asking?
I think it's been answered, but
You, you,
your
you can see how my mind works
no,
in that
that's it's
situation.
amazing
Like,
because it led me to this question. And so because honestly, I'm listening to you talk and it's all about the effort of cutting through the noise, getting to the heart of the issue, understanding the basics, right? And so everything else can fall in line with that. What I'm seeing today in business, and again, I hate to keep going back to like social media, but let's bring the podcasts in and the books in and all of
mhm.
these other areas of information, these fire hoses that we're drinking from. There are dichotomies everywhere that we look. On one hand, we have everybody saying that if the business doesn't run without you, you don't own a company, you own a job. And then we have you here saying you have to make the decision to do this thing. And I know what you're saying. It's before this, but that's not what people hear, right? And then we
Yeah.
have okay, well your job at the top is to be a visionary, and so you need to have a CFO, to be able to do X, Y, and Z, or you need to grow at 30% a year, rule of 72. And, but you also have to focus on this, and this. So there's just
Ah,
from every angle, Ellen, there are conflicting thoughts, ideas, iterations, beliefs. And so us as business owners are sitting here like, what the hell do I do? How do we cut through
that
the
was well
noise?
presented. That was really good. I have a friend, Al Levy. He'd be a great podcast guest for
He's
you.
actually the one that referred me to you. He was on the
Oh,
show.
oh, he was on the show. Okay,
Yeah.
I love Al Levy.
Yeah.
He and I are besties. We were together last week. When he doesn't consult anymore, he's retired. He retired at like 40, richer than
Mhm.
God,
I
but
know.
then was a consultant for a long, long time. And really just my best friend. He's amazing. But when he worked with someone as a consultant, he would say, I don't want you to read any other books. I don't want you to listen to a million podcasts. I want you to listen to me for a minute. I'm not the only one who has this all figured out, but you're going to get confused if you have too many voices in your head, and we're going to create a Frankenstein. Now, what I'm going to recommend is going to work, and I want you to get your money's worth. You're paying me to install these systems, the manuals, et cetera. He's got the 7 power concept and the
Mhm.
whole bit. And then he said, then you can knock yourself out, like go back into the world. But his rule when he worked with someone is that just let me be the one voice. Now, while that sounds really arrogant, and it is, he was right in many ways for just what you were saying. Just like we got to quiet you can't come to the call every week with a new seminar. Just talk to Tommy, just talk to Ishmael, just talk to Josh. Like you got to get focused a little bit. And I think that makes some sense. I think overall, again, the two main responsibilities, and it doesn't mean you have to do everything, are that you have to pick the direction, be a visionary for your company. Where are we going? Set the intention, and then be responsible for the money. Now, you can get help on both fronts. I think one thing to remind everyone is everybody who has $1 billion business or 100 million or 10 million was one person with an idea at the beginning. So wherever you are, you're on the path to wherever you want to go, right? I mean, Tommy Mello painted garage doors for $100 a piece when he was like 14 or something. Everybody has that origin story, except for someone who inherited a company or came along with PE. But there's plenty of people most of us, who just started with those origin stories, just one truck, then 2 trucks, and grew it that way. So I think one thing that helps settle the noise. Well, let me give a couple of tips. One is to get clear on what you want and then filter what people are saying and see if it aligns. It may make you feel uncomfortable if it's something you haven't done before. So be okay with the uncomfortableness, but don't let it insult your integrity, or don't force yourself out of who you are to become who someone else is. Like when I hear someone say, I want to be just like Ishmael, I'm like, let Ishmael be Ishmael. You're never going to be Ishmael. You be you. Like,
Yeah.
again, what is it that you want to do? What's your song, your genius? Like, let's bring that out and be selective. Also, the other thing to note is nobody has it all going on. Nobody, if you open the doors, has it all going on. And I don't think we should make statues to anybody. I think we should melt them all down. Just nobody achieves statue level in their lives because they're all flawed, and there are certain areas where they're good and other areas, maybe it's personally, maybe they are, really have had a struggle keeping a family together. Maybe it's physically, they're not in good shape, or they've got a lot. Nobody has it all going on. So, try and live your best life. And I think that comes back down to that comparison. Am I comparing myself to someone
Yeah.
else? What is it that I really, really want?
There you go. That's the thread I want to pull on, right? And
Mhm.
we had this dialogue. We talked a lot before we actually hit the record button. I'm realizing now
We
because
love
I'm
each
like,
other
you know,
already.
but this question, what do I want? Right? I can ask my 7 and 10-year-old kids right now what they want. They'll give me a laundry list of shit that is just so specific, and and they won't mince their words, I promise you.
Mhm.
But if I ask any one of my employees, if I ask anybody on my leadership, if I look myself in the mirror and I say, "What do you want?" That question becomes a whole lot harder to answer. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's a fear thing, security, insecurity. How do we know, Ellen, what we want?
Uh, okay, love this line of thought. So someone will call me and I'll get on the phone for half an hour just to I meet them at a seminar. They follow up from the podcast, and we'll arrange an appointment, get on my calendar for half an hour. And like they would happily spend all 30 minutes telling me what they don't want.
Mhm.
And I'll have to interrupt him and go, duly noted. What would you rather have? And then there's like why it's so hard. And, this has gone on for 20 years. And the point of power is now. Starting now, like if you could erase these, starting now, what would you want? And some folks just never get there. So, one thing I've learned, and I heard it at a seminar once, is what you don't want can springboard you to what you do want.
Mm.
Well, I don't want to be broke. Well, what would you rather be? I'd rather be rich. How rich? What would be enough? Like, that's another good question. What would be enough for you? What would be adorable that you could just go, got it. Thanks. Is that a dollar amount? Is it a lifestyle? Like how much time I work? So, who said this? Mark Victor Hansen. He takes 1 week off a month and 1 month off a year. And I thought, oh, that's adorable. In fact, I just remembered that. I'm putting that back on my calendar.
There you go.
But again, like, what's that worth to you? Just this idea of what would you rather have? Or I don't want to get those phone calls anymore. Well, okay. Maybe you don't have to get those phone calls anymore. Like there are options out there if we're willing to let go of what we don't want, because I do believe that thoughts become things. And when we think about it and talk about it, we're speaking it into reality. That's why I'm becoming more and more disciplined about my words, and I'm more sensitive to yours. Like I'll hear it in someone else now and go, let's time out a sec. Is that serving you? That thought, those words? Or when someone introduces themselves, oh, I'm terrible with money. Like, I don't even know you. And this is your intro? Like, come on, do better. What do you want? I'm becoming a money manager. I'm learning what I need to know to be a good manager of my money. I'm a financial manager in training. That's even better. Just sort of like you're just paying attention to all this stuff is fixable. Every bit of your business is fixable. I think it does start with your words, your intentions, and then some aligned action. I'll tell you, Josh, and let me ask you how you handle this. So we've been philosophizing, but when it gets down to getting stuff done, are you an EOS guy, a traction guy? Do you use a planner or have lists? Like, how do you and your consulting clients get stuff done? Because those lists can reduce overwhelm.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So in my own business, we were on EOS for a while,
Okay.
and EOS was great. And I think what we've done is we've sort of evolved that into what works best for us,
Yep.
terminology, meeting style, all that kind of stuff. But at the heart of it, Ellen, it is lists. I will tell you, even as I was when I was a technician in the field, and I had those little pocket notebooks,
Mm-hmm.
I still have some of them from like 18 years ago. That you flip through them, and I wrote lists with check boxes, list, and then when I started to get more into the office, I filled composition notebooks with lists, check boxes, that kind of stuff. But I always encourage anybody that I'm coaching, to have some kind of a framework that they work within. It doesn't have to be a list, doesn't have to be EOS, doesn't have to be scaling up, doesn't have to, just whatever works for them. I work with a lot of clients that are just making the leap from like technician to business owner. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like basics, right?
Yes.
Just make sure you can organize your thoughts so you can see them and not just hear them or feel them or have them up here, like see them.
So good. Let me add this too, because I love it. Once the owner starts to get a little more disciplined, a word I used to hate and now love. So once the owner gets a little bit more disciplined, and the owner's writing things down, like either in their notes or on a little notebook or anything, like just moving it from I got to remember this to on the paper or on something. Then with your team, you can do the same thing. You could have a couple dozen of those little pocket notebooks, maybe a couple dozen of those college ruled,
Yeah.
8 by 11 regular notebooks. But when I'm talking in a situation where people are supposed to be doing something as a result of my talking, if they're not writing, I stop talking. How
Mm.
you gonna remember that? We're all too old to remember these stuff. Where are you writing that down? So if you're not writing it down, I'm not gonna, this is not a suggestion. If you and I are visiting, it's a suggestion. But if you're supposed to be doing something as a result of this conversation and you're not writing it down, I'm going to stop talking. And then you have notebooks handy for your team. Do you have a notebook? Here's a notebook. Write it down there. Then another thing that'll happen is you're going to get distracted all the time. So this is getting your team a little more disciplined, not by changing them, but by changing you. You can't change them, but you can change you. So if someone says to me, hey, Ellen, got a minute? A lot of times what they're going to do is give you that monkey of a thought, right? Got a
Yeah.
great idea. Let me give it to you. Ellen will keep track of it. And I will say, they say, got a minute? And I'll say, maybe give me 5 seconds worth. And then they say, there is a fire in the break room. And I'm like, okay, everybody, let's go. But if they say, I have an idea for marketing, I'll go, oh, great. Write that down and take it to the marketing meeting. Like, let them keep the monkey. And then you're going to need meetings and you're going to need lists. So this doesn't have to be complicated. I like EOS because, damn it, Gino Wickman put a format together, and scaling up the Rockefeller habit. Same thing. There's systems that we've been missing. Al Levy has 6 pages worth of planning power in his book. It's super simple. List, smaller list, top 5 list. That'll make all the difference. So, just jotting things down and then prioritizing. We can't do more than 2 or 3 or no more than 5 top projects at any one time in the company, and the rest of the items just rot there until we get something done.
Yeah.
That allows you and your team to see that things are getting done. A lot of times, team members, I'll talk to owners and they say, well, my guys are whining. First off, if they're whining, I would assume they have a legit gripe. Let's just assume that whatever they're whining about is legit.
Yeah.
And if they're repeating themselves and stating the obvious, it's because nothing's happening on that. So if at the very least you go, good idea, could you put that on the all projects list, which has 150 other projects on it, but it'll be on there, put your initials next to it, and now just keep championing that idea as we get things done. Then let's see if that particular idea is one that's going to solve a problem or capitalize on an opportunity, and we could move it to the top 5. You see what I mean? So the whole team now is getting a little more disciplined in terms of how they approach. You can't do it all at once. That's what's overwhelming. It's narrowing it down to a few things. That story with EOS is really common and a good one to bring up, because that's another way by comparison we fail. Oh, well, you don't do EOS pure. Oh, I know, right? Or you get stuff done. That's the point. And again, right? I like EOS, but I don't really. I know one company personally who's doing it to the letter, to good effect. And they're still fairly new at it, so we'll see where they end up in a few years. But it tends to evolve a bit, but it doesn't take away from the greatness of the program.
Absolutely. I think the fundamentals in that, or really any other system like that, are truly where the value is. It's meant to evolve. It's meant to, well, don't tell Gino I said that, but it is like, that's where we've found it provides the most value for the business. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I got from that, Ellen, and you just said it, is simplicity creates focus. Less is more. If you have certain things that are going to move the needle, that is what you should have your entire team focused on. Because once you direct everybody's attention and focus to that thing, and you complete that thing, there's so much more time to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And let me, a couple things. First off, if you were to look in Gino Wickman's company, I guarantee
Fair enough.
It's
right?
not pure. Like, it never is. Like, I feel like I've just been behind the curtain so many times, and there's Oz. It doesn't mean the company isn't worth $100 million, right? It's just the way it's going to evolve. But the whole team too, the cool thing about doing projects is you might need 2 people on that project. And then 2 other people could do another project. You just can't do more than 5. Or like, even if you had only 2 top projects and you got those done over the course of the year, would 10 projects absolutely revolutionize your business? With 3 projects, because so often when someone says to me, I've been doing this for 20 years, they're at $1 million in sales. They've been doing the same thing for 20 years. There hasn't been any growth or any evolution. So that's why it doesn't matter. When I look at financials, I never even look at last year. I don't care. Some people do. Others tell me this is our best year compared to last year. And I go, good. I don't even care what last year was.
Yeah.
I'm always forward, always forward. What do we want? Point of power is now.
You and I are so much
Oh.
alike, and my team gets so upset sometimes because I'm like, I don't care what happened yesterday. I don't care what happened last year. I care what happens today and tomorrow. More
Mhm.
so, I care what happens today because it's what affects tomorrow. But
Yeah,
like, I give such little energy to like, and I've got a team of people that are like trends and all these things, and you gotta I'm like, just I don't care. You do
I don't
that.
either.
I'll do this.
Yeah, and because then I'll look at someone who like, well, one of the folks I've worked with, his name is Tom Howard. He's a senior VP at Service Titan. I swear, I scratched the surface of every business I've been to in the last year, and Tom Howard has been there, owns part of it, does something there, knows the guy. He's very well connected. But his company, he's got 5 companies that they're rolling up, plus other companies. He has dozens of companies, but he's got 5 companies that they're rolling up right now. And one of them, the centerpiece of these 5 companies, the biggest one, is in Fresno, California. And have you been to Fresno?
I have
Okay.
cousins there.
Okay. No disrespect, but which means I'm about to disrespect Fresno is I can't smell the money in Fresno. I get off
No.
the plane and I look around. I think the median income is $60,000 in Fresno. And according to all sorts of trends and math and calculations, there's no way Lee's Air could be more than a $10 million company. And they did 50 million last year, 55 million. Then something like that happens and I'm going, why are we looking at the trends? Why are we
Mhm.
limiting ourselves to these things? Let someone else do that. I guess
Yeah.
in the conversation it's helpful if someone brings that up, but it's not going to be me.
You saying "but" remind me. You know what "but" stands for? Have you heard this acronym?
No, but it's always
Beho
bad.
Yeah, it's not great. But it's
Before,
behold the underlying truth. So, I'm sorry, but
but
here's the underlying truth. So that's what that reminded me of. I
yeah.
just wanna point that
No,
out.
see,
Um,
that's good to be aware of your words. When you say but, everyone's going to go, "Uh-oh, that didn't matter. Now what?" Yeah.
oh, so this kinda leads me into the next question I had for you. We're talking about, this evolution and, kind of what the leader is responsible for in the business. So at some point, Ellen, the business demands, I had written here, it asks, but it demands its leader evolves.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it stalls. What identity shift in your opinion, must happen for somebody to move from operator to true owner?
Oh, that question I find infinitely interesting. Now, you have changed. So, your
Yeah.
business now is not the business that it was when you and your dad had it.
Mm-mm.
And was there a moment where you thought, I gotta keep up with this? Like, did you have that realization that this is going to outpace me?
So this is I'm going to give you a nuanced answer because it's a bit of a identity shift personally for me, but it
Mhm.
wasn't like a realization in the business. So here I'll frame this up and I'll say, oftentimes when we make or we have realizations that change the trajectory of our life, whether that's in personal or business, it's on the heels of a catastrophic event.
Yep.
And so I was a technician basically from 2008 to 2014, still a technician, but starting slowly to build the company and, you know, trying to lead people twice my age. My wife is she's Irish twins with her sister, so they were 11 months apart.
Uh-huh.
January 1st, 2015, she passed away suddenly, and not my
Oh,
wife, her sister. And in that moment, whatever it was, Ellen, a switch flipped for me, and I started to compare everything to time. So this was my evolution as a leader, right? In understanding where I wanted to take the business and in what time I wanted to do it because all of us have an expiration date. Problem
Mhm.
is, none of us know when it is. And so, that is what got me into the mindset of, okay, if I want different results, I have to not only do different things, I have to evolve myself. I have to be someone capable of doing this. Does that answer your question?
Oh,
I
yeah,
went a
and
little deep there.
sorry about yeah, but I'm sorry about your sister-in-law, and I don't mean to be flip as I say this. The worst things lead to rainbows and, positive moments in our lives. I've found over and over again that, like, this isn't the end. This is just a significant shift here, and um, yeah, I don't think you're alone in that kind of a moment having a big impact on somebody's life. So that's a good story. That's a good story to share. And thanks for being so vulnerable on that. Um, at, I'm interested in leaders who can continue to keep up. And there may
Mhm.
even be a point where you decide you don't want to. But while
Mhm.
you're the owner, your job is to. So in my life, there have been a couple of moments where I'm just like, this is outgrowing me. And I have to either increase my skills or I have to get out of the way. So a lead follower, get out of the way moment.
Yep.
I've had a couple of those. And what I've come to understand about my skill set is I am good at 0 to 1. I've got a lot of energy. I can get things sparked up and fired, and there's a need for a 0 to 1 gal.
Yep.
I'm your gal. But there comes a point where I'm just like, I'm moving on. I don't have it. With Benjamin Franklin, I realized we were at 47 locations. I was going to be required to move to Florida because he was bringing the presidents of all the companies and I thought, I don't want to go to Florida. My dad will get lost. He's living on my property. He doesn't, he has Alzheimer's. I mean, like I'll lose my dad. I didn't want to go. And I just thought, okay, it's time for me to move on. And I found my
Mm.
successor. And so, like, there will come moments in your life where you decide, I don't want to be that guy. And that's fair too. Like, as a result, I've gained some clarity about where my skill set is. And I don't really see myself doing anything for more than a few years. It's just not who I am. But now let me talk about the Service Titan guys. The
Mhm.
two fellows, Ara and Vahe, who started Service Titan, two guys, like a kind of a cute meet story where they met each other. They both were from Armenian families. Their dads were plumbers, and they decided to go to school to figure out software that would help their family businesses. They didn't want to get their hands dirty, but they wanted to help their plumber dads. They both
Yeah.
had the same story, both from Armenia. So they became friends and started Service Titan. And 15 years later, they went public with Service Titan. And they're still the cheeses. They're the CEO and the COO. So I've watched how they have gotten coached and expanded and how they manage differently. Not perfect at Service Titan, but these two guys are really impressive that they still have those jobs. They still have these values and the focus that makes me think, I want to go work for them.
Mhm.
So it is interesting to me what it takes and what drives folks. I find an infinitely interesting story. And again, dear listener, what is it that you want? You may not want to be the cheese.
Right. Right.
I just saw a fellow speak. Have you had Cameron Harold on your show?
Cameron actually was supposed to record last week and just rescheduled for next month.
Tell him I want to get in a van and follow Cameron Harold.
Yeah.
I saw him speak at BTA, Breakthrough Academy. And I had not seen him before, hadn't read I read and do that little morning miracle
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
ritual. I didn't know he was a co-author of that until I put this together. His message is essentially the second in command is the person who will drive the company.
Yep.
And so even if you're a one-man band or one-woman band, at this point, finding one other person changes everything.
Yeah.
And to find someone who complements your skill set and going to EOS language, there's the visionary and there's the integrator. Well, just like have complementary skill sets, have a shared vision, divide and conquer, and things are going to get bigger faster if that's what you really, really want. His book, Second in Command, I just ordered it and I'm so excited to read it and learn more about him. But he's a really interesting cat. And he's essentially the CEO, but he's been the COO, and he was the
Yeah.
COO for Brian Scudamore at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a really interesting interview preview.
It'll be great. No, it'll be definitely be great. And there's so much truth to that too, because
Yeah.
that was another shift in my business is when I found an incredible second in command, and that's what allowed me to kind of step out of the operator role, be the true visionary that I am, because I'm like you know, 0 to 1, right? And so I can have the ideas, I can put them on the table, I can even get them started, you know, but I can't finish an idea for the life of me before I start another one, you know. And so to have that person that you can hand that off to take it to the finish line, that's really what gives the business juice, you know.
Yeah.
And
Love
that's
that.
really, yeah, that's been a huge realization for me. And I also, around this time that my sister-in-law, you know, passed away, I started thinking more of in a framework. It didn't actually come to fruition as a framework until many years later. But now I operate, at least from a business standpoint, I got my personal pillars and my framework in business, but it's truth. It's time, first and foremost,
Okay.
responsibility, understanding, tenacity, and humility. And if I have those things, then that's kind of like my guide as a leader in business. I've got my, like, again, I got my personal stuff, but that's what has helped me kind of keep focus on the things that will move the needle.
Well, let me point something out that was so powerful right there. One is that you understand your personal values, and I like the mnemonic. The trick for remembering is like how you remember the Great Lakes, Holmes,
Yep.
Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. So like
Yep.
you that um, tool
Yep.
that teachers use works to
Yeah.
help people remember things. What was the journey you took to come up with truth for you?
Just personal experience, if I'm being honest. You know, there's a lot of reasons, but the time, you know, each one of them, there's is attached to a significant event. I think that I've come to understand. You know, like the first one was time, right, with my sister-in-law. Like, just that was my epiphany that
Uh-huh.
that the time is the driver, you know, and we're looking at it wrong, right? And we can leverage time or we can waste time. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it. You know, responsibility, something I learned at a very young age. You know, I was very much the kid that was like, okay, you go play, you go do your thing. And, you know, as long as you're here by, you know, 9 o'clock tonight, we're just going to say everything was cool. And so I was left to a lot of my own devices. You know, understanding didn't come till later. Understanding is, I'm a big believer in asking questions, right? But I was not always that way. I'm natural. I shouldn't say I'm naturally curious. Curiosity is a learned skill for me. I was for a long time living in my head, you know, being that guy that was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to speak up because if I do, people are going to know that I don't know something, right? You know, so that shield. But once I
Mhm.
understood that curiosity can be a superpower, especially with open-ended questions, you know, then that understanding is really what drives everything forward for me, you know. And so the next one with tenacity, it's your version of grit,
Yeah.
right? It's just being able to get after it, do hard things. You know, I'm that guy. I'm at the gym early in the morning. I'm cold plunging. You know, I'm chasing those difficult feelings. I had a guy on the show not long ago. His episode's going to air soon. His name is Jacob Tilzer. Incredible person. I grew up in the foster care system. Started as a mechanic. Built his business on the East Coast. Sold it for 100 and something million, and you know, and then started his own PE company. And he's like 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was sitting here in my home studio, and he said, you know, Josh, I've made a living at chasing the uncomfortable feeling, and that stuck with me,
Yeah.
right? And then humility is, listen, I was a stuntman, right? So my ego was like, it was like this big, and so I had to be humbled, right? And so when I left this business and I had to confront, hey, this thing that I thought I was going to do the rest of my life is really not what I want to do. It's who I thought I was. It's not. And that really, I mean, since then, I've been humbled, especially being a technician in the skilled trades. Like that'll humble you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, that was a long explanation, but
No, but, did you go to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights? Like, what even caused you to write it down? I can see coming to some of those
yeah,
personal truths, but the power of what you just described is that you've got that, mnemonic, that way to
yeah,
remember it and now share it,
yeah.
that makes it even more powerful. So what made you do that?
I think it was understanding. I don't know if there was a specific event for that, but it was just understanding how powerful it was used together.
Yeah.
All of those things not being learned over several different years, but being able to look at it as a filter for all decisions.
But, if you're interviewing someone to come work for you and you share that,
Hmm.
the people with whom that resonates, that's in the plus column,
Of course.
so I think that's so important to let people see what's
A-
important to
And
you.
to
Again,
be
that's your
clear,
as the leader, that's a
yes.
good thing to do.
And to be clear, that the truth is my framework. It's not my company values. My company values are different than that. This one's kind of like how I show up in business every day.
And that should be, integrated, right? There's
Mhm.
nothing in one or the other that's gonna be at odds,
Yeah, that's true.
That's where your integrity comes from.
Oh, I like that.
That's beautiful.
All right,
Okay,
let's keep moving. So that's
okay,
actually a good segue into a question I love to ask,
okay.
which is, Ellen, in a spirit of learning more about you, what is a truth that took you years to fully understand, but changed everything once you did?
I think that, and I've talked about it a little bit, but let me settle into this a little bit.
Mm.
I just didn't want to have to do the financial piece of it. So I marry Hot Rod, who was a stunt car driver in the Joey Chitwood thrill show in New England back in the early 70s. That's where Hot Rod got his nickname. So he like rode a motorcycle through a flaming wall and car on two wheels and hell driving and that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing. It was like a circus act. They went from city to city. So I met him, and his dad was a plumber. His granddad was a mechanic. So his game was to do that kind of work just until he found something else he wanted to do. He ended up leaving the thrill show. He went to Utah, became a ski bum, and opened Snowbird, the ski area, as the mechanic, and worked, on mechanical systems at Snowbird when he was like 21. So he ended up in the field that his dad was in, kind of backwards. It wasn't really where he wanted to go, but it was what he knew and what he was good at. And then he started a little business with his best friend, a guy named Richard Yaux, and they started a company called Hot Rod and Yaux in Park City, Utah. Anyway, they were friends since like third grade, and Hot Rod is very chill. Yaux was not. Yaux was a worrier, type A,
Mhm.
uh, fretting over everything. And he had a lot of health problems, I'm sure related to his overall like nature. And also he was a guy, he went to serve in the Vietnam War. He wasn't in Vietnam, he was in a place called Diego Garcia. But I don't know anybody who doesn't come back from war with some, serious
Yeah.
scars.
Yeah.
And he had some health issues as a result of that. Anyway, Yox was um working all the time. And he told me one day at like 5 o'clock on a Friday, I don't feel well. I don't like you. I don't like a Hot Rod. I hate our customers. I hate our guys. If I don't do it myself, it'll never get done. He was just kind of on that kind of rant. And I'm like, oh, I was not working in the business at this time. I
Mm.
was, just a friend.
Yeah.
I had my own career. I had a million jobs, and I was in the restaurant world and all of that. And so the next day, Yox goes to the hospital. That's Saturday. And on Sunday, he dies at age 33.
Oh,
Hot
wow.
Rod's best friend and partner, you know, again, like the worst things. He and Hot Rod and I are looking at each other like we thought he was just being dramatic. And he just like had a stress-induced health crisis and punched out. And so it, you know, at that time, I mean, it was devastating to Hot Rod. He just lost his best friend. And then Hot Rod says to me, you know, after the dust settles here, he says, well, I'm going to go get a job because I really don't want to be a business owner. And I go, oh, no, no, no. I'm going to quit my job. I'll come work for you. You turn wrenches. I'll count the money. We'll get rich. So this starts a very terrible pattern of me trying to change my husband. I'm always picking on couples in the audience. You guys work together? Oh, I'm sorry. You
A
know,
narrative we've never heard before ever.
yeah, exactly. And so, you know, I'm gonna keep on the salient points here. But what happened here is then I'm supposed to be counting the money, but I don't know how to do it. And Yox had kept the books, which I'm so old, it was in a columnar pad. It was like a ledger. And you, with a pencil, added the numbers across and down. We didn't have computers then. This is going back like 40 plus years. So, and none of it makes any sense. And I don't know, I've never balanced the checkbook. It seems like it's a hot mess. Now, I went to school. I have a degree in business administration. I had been working as a restaurant manager. I'd had experience with balance sheet and profit and loss. But what do you do when they're a hot mess? And it was just on this paper. I didn't know anything about where to begin. And so this is what took me way too long. Instead of just going, all right, somebody's got to do it. Guess it's going to be me because Hot Rod doesn't even want to be in business. It's my big idea. I fought it. I had this idea that I somehow shouldn't have to do it because you've already seen how distractible pinball, right? And it, you know, in my mind, it all makes sense. It's a big chaotic pattern, but I wasn't naturally well suited to like financials or want anything to do with them. But what happened was the pain of the current condition became greater than the fear of change. It became so bad because now we don't have my salary. I'm not making any money, so I'm totally resentful. I used to have a paycheck and some respect at my job. Thank you very much. And now I got none of that. And now we're fighting all the time. You know, I'm trying to get his attention to get some information, and he's just hating every bit of it. So this is when I find my mentor, Frank Blau, through the pages of Plumbing and Mechanical magazine. And then even so, like when I tell the stories, I met Frank, I figured out the money. I still fought him. I don't know how he put up with me. I fought him for a year. Well, can't somebody else do this? Or, yeah, if you pay him, do you have any money? No. Okay, then you're going to have to learn it. It was just that. And then when I finally went, okay, I'll learn it and just like quit fighting it, I picked it up really fast. I mean, in a month, I'd caught up for the last year. Like, and then I got a computer.
I got a computer.
Yeah, then I got a computer that cost like back in the day, like I think 10 grand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, this big clunky DOS based whatever, and got a Peachtree accounting system that went with it. And I learned that. And hey, listen, I never got great at bookkeeping. To this day, I still have to like sounds off, focused, door locked, check my works 3 times. I'm not naturally good at it. But once I learned how it works, I will never be bamboozled again. Never be bamboozled again. So then, even after I learned it, I hired someone, thought, yay, someone else will do it for me. They ripped us off. Oh, great. Now I have to go back. I have to at least check on it. So all the worst things became good things, right? Because I thought, okay, I don't have to do all the accounting, but I do have to look. So it took me way too long to accept that. It was my job or Hot Rod's job, and Hot Rod wasn't doing it. You know, a little side story on that. So once we turned our company around, we got out of debt, started stockpiling money. It got easier. I thought, remember, we raised our prices. I put the systems in place. I thought no one would call us. All we did was make more money. started picking better jobs, started doing things smarter, like little bit. Got our guys shirts. Before, one of our guys used to wear a T-shirt that said, "Kill 'em all, let God sort 'em out," to work. That was
Oh my god.
acceptable. Somebody else had a hat that said Neanderthal plumbing that he just
Nice.
wore. Yeah, like, we were so bad, but they were good men who did
Sure.
amazing work, and, like, so we just started, like, just taking the burrs off, right, to
Yeah.
get a little bit better, and we started to make money, and then I started to get into it. So then I say to Hot Rod, I ask Hot Rod the ultimate question, "So what do you want? What do you wanna do?"
Mm,
And he said, "I don't wanna do this. I don't wanna work with anybody else. I wanna be in business all by myself," which left me out, which was fine ultimately, because here's what money does for you. It allows you to ask the question, "What do we want?"
mm,
Until we got like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, until we got a little bit of breathing room with the financial piece, we couldn't even ask that question. We were too underwater. Make
sure.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and so then once I asked that, I'm like, "Oh, well, now I'm thinking, like, what we have 4 trucks. What if we had 8 trucks, 12 trucks? I know just where we could go next." And I had all these ideas, and he's like, "Don't want it." So that's when I realized, and I relapse on this. I relapse daily. But overall, I've come to understand that you can't change anyone. You can't
Mm,
change anyone. All the work to be done is within your own hula hoop. That's overwhelm reducing. So when I talk to someone on the phone, they complain about their guys. I'm like, number one, they can hear you, and that's really rude of you to talk about people that way. And number two is it's not your guys, it's you. Like, you can't change people, but you can change you. I don't like his attitude. Well, what are you going to do about his attitude?
yeah.
You're gonna whatever that is none of your business.
Yep.
So, you work on whatever's inside your head. You work on your behaviors. Wayne Dyer says, once you change, everything changes for you. And that's what I found happen. Like if I took the focus off Hot Rod, so he's weird. He's cool. He's a stunt guy. He's a plumber. He's the coolest guy I know. Why don't you just let him be? And go figure out what you want to do. What's your purpose in life? How are you going to serve? What are you going to do? And
Mhm.
that's what really, we sold our company to our team members. And 37 years later, they still run those Hot Rod Yachts trucks in Park City,
Yeah.
Utah. Isn't that cool?
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Yox is dead. Hot Rod and I are gone from the whole thing, but they make us really proud whenever I see those trucks. So,
Wow.
but then like that's where I realized my responsibility was to figure out to do my 40 days and 40 nights. What do I want to do? How am I going to serve? And I started by helping other people figure out their asset from their elbow, and I still do that in some way, shape, or form to this day. So I love
Wow.
helping people grow businesses, learning about them. I go on ride-alongs. I've been to hundreds of shops, been on
Yeah.
hundreds of ride-alongs, and that's how I stay relevant, is that I at least hang out. Then I ended up working at Benjamin Franklin, and we grew that, and so everything for me pivoted on understanding what a balance sheet and a profit and loss was. That's the one piece I've got. I don't know how to do the other stuff, but I've been able to find, magnetize, or find a way to others where I can work collaboratively. Hot Rod still likes working all by himself. He works for Kalefi as their technical guru, social media answer questions guys. Like his career, he built and sold another business all by himself. It was like West Coast choppers. You want to work with me? Get in line. I probably won't answer my phone. And don't ask me how much it costs. I'll just tell you and you say yes or get out of line. Like, and I didn't believe that that would work, but it did.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it took me, I guess, the two things. One, figure out
Yeah,
the money. And the other thing is, you can't change anybody.
can't change
That
anybody.
took
I
me
like
too
that.
long.
A phrase that's coming to me right now that I use often is "you get what you tolerate."
Yeah.
And I usually use it in a leadership setting, for my leadership team to hold my team members accountable, because you get what you tolerate. but truly too, like just in this conversation, I'm like, I'm turning that inward a little bit, and I'm,
Yeah.
you can say that to yourself too, and you can say you get what you tolerate.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a true foundation for growth and evolution, just and I'm hearing it in the context of your description there, which is why I brought it up.
And when you get like if instead of trying to get guys to be different all the time, what if you were such a shining example of what it is that you're hoping for?
Yep.
Okay, so the way I like to think of it is if you see a guy, if you like to play pickup basketball and there is a guy all by himself on the basketball court and he's doing drills and he's running plays, like if you are really into that, you'll probably approach that guy. What are you doing? You want to play? Like you'll watch him all by himself
Yep.
behave in such a way that you'll think, I want more of that.
Yeah.
So that like kind of magnetic core is where we operate best. And that's paradox. You brought up the dichotomy, the paradox,
Yeah.
even the balance sheet, debits equals credits. Like all of these, we live in this dual universe, but the most powerful thing you can do to build a team is to work on yourself.
Yeah, I really love that. I think that there's so much truth and power in that statement, not only professionally but personally as well. And because at the end of the day, there's a lot that needs to quote unquote change, right? But you can't change anyone, to your point, exactly to your point. But you can change yourself, and that's most important. So clarity creates calm.
Yeah.
This is kind of also what I'm hearing from you too. Like you got to understand the numbers, you understood that you can change, nobody else can change. Like this is clarity, right? And
Hmm.
then clarity flips this switch in us. I think sometimes that just it allows us to slow things down and look through the correct lens, And so kind of bringing this back to the numbers, how to clear numbers in a business change how leaders lead, sleep, decide? I mean, how does it change?
Well, this started way back with Hot Rod too. I'm a big fan of a one pager, of a
Mm,
dashboard report. Again, just my basic personality is like, just what's the most important thing I have to know because I'm going to get lost in details. So Hot Rod would be the same too. As I was figuring out the money, I would bring the financials into his office and just spread them all out, start pointing to things. I'd watch him glaze off and I'd get pissed. Listen, I am trying to help here. I have done all this work and I need your attention on it. And Hot Rod said a million years ago, if you put the few numbers you're pointing at on one piece of paper, I'll look at one piece of paper. And like lo and behold, these truths, that's called a dashboard report. That is commonplace in
mhm.
business, but I didn't know that. So I put together a one pager once upon a time. I called it a summary of critical numbers. Now I call it the financial quick check. One of my buddies who I work with calls it the weekly financial health report. That's fine, whatever, but it's a one pager and it's going to have the few numbers that really matter on it. I can give you a copy of this too
That'd
if
be
you want to.
awesome.
Yeah, I'll send that over as a little hostess gift for
Thank
you,
you.
dear listener. So yeah, but basically you can edit it. But what I usually do is I'll have month to date compared to the budget for the month,
Mhm,
year to date compared to where we should be by the end of this month, budget
mhm.
wise, and truncate it so it's sales and then a breakdown of the cost of goods sold because those are the variable high action ones that your team has control over.
Yep.
And then maybe one line for overhead, maybe a couple. Maybe I'll have marketing broken out, vehicles broken out. Then I'll have profit. Some people put EBITDA if they're gearing
Yep.
up to go in the PE direction. And then I'll have a little statement of cash flows. Maybe I'll have a couple other critical numbers we're paying attention to, like inventory or
Mhm,
debt,
mhm.
something that just we've decided we should pay attention to for now. But the rule is it has to be on one page. And the key to this is, oh, this is so good. that if you get to a known financial position, the definition is that the financials are current weekly. They don't have to be
Mm.
perfect weekly, but they got to be pretty darn good. So that the balance sheet and profit and loss are pretty darn good one day a week, month to date. And so they're current, they're accurate, and you understand them. That's a known financial position. And you can work through that with your team. And as you get tighter with this known financial position, I suggest you bring your team in on it. And then you're going to put a budget together. So here's where we are is actual, and budgeted is this made up stuff.
Yeah.
It's just what I arbitrarily decided. A budget is a guess, and you should tell your team the truth about that. So then we'd compare to budget. And the game becomes on this one pager, if we're looking at it week by week, sales minus expenses should equal a positive number. Don't lose money in the month.
Mm-hmm.
Another, like, that was a Jim Abrams thing. If you have 10,000 in sales, don't spend more than $9,999 that month. Go to McDonald's, get paper towels out of the men's room, but don't buy paper towels today. Like, just, like, offense is sales, defense is expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And then job 2 would be, could we hit budget? That's a game. And how would we do that? How do we increase sales? How do we play better offense? How do we decrease or manage expenses? That's defense. And that one pager helps you get your team in on the game. And the few
Yeah.
numbers that I look at are sales and profit and cash, or EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. If you're, again, it's a PE term for a little more, a different definition of the profit, but close enough.
Yeah.
So sales, profit, and cash. And then I have a couple other numbers. Payroll, total payroll as a percentage of total sales. Why do you think I have that number in there?
So you can understand if you have capacity. You can understand if your team is, if you're overstaffed, if you're understaffed.
It's our biggest expense,
Mm-hmm.
and it's variable.
Mm.
So if that number goes up as a percentage of sales, I'm going to lose money in the month.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a key defensive indicator for me. It's a great number. Total payroll, including owners, everybody.
Now,
And
is that including like payroll expenses as well? Or
no, I
just
don't
wages?
do it that way. Some
Okay.
people do. And it's fine as long as whatever you decide at your, this brings up a good point. It's fine as long as you do it consistently the same way every week
It's
at
all
your
relative.
business.
Yeah.
But if you go to a convention and you talk about gross margin or your payroll as a percentage of sales, unless you're apples to apples, that's a BS conversation.
Yeah.
I don't even bother asking what your, because like I'd have to look at their chart of accounts first to see. So whatever. I just do gross wages. And gross wages, no more than 35% is pretty rock star. That's a lot. So 33%, 33 cents of every dollar you bring in goes to gross wages, and you haven't bought a pencil yet.
Yeah.
So it's a really good number to track. I look at the dollars, I look at the percentages, of course, gross margin, and maybe per department. Only have as many departments as I need. I try to have 2, maybe 3, not 10.
Yeah.
So I'll send you the one pager, and we could do another podcast on just it, or just like what the dashboards would look like for each area of your business. You can do a marketing one, but like in the world of business now, when I report to my cheeses at Service Titan, I try and keep it to a page. I try and keep it to half a page. Like, here's what we wanted to do. Here's what we did. Here's what we learned, that kind of thing. So I just like, how can you communicate better? One pagers are everything. And you can definitely use that to help increase your understanding at all levels of your company. Because here's the thing, when you get your team in on the game, they know what's wrong. Your frontline team members know what's wrong. They're willing to help you fix it. They sometimes don't either have the power or the knowledge of how to do it, but together you could figure it out. And then we're moving a number, not saying your attitude is bad.
Right. We're actually listening.
What would you do if you were me? What would you do? What could you contest, raise our prices, offer a different service, like we're taking 3 steps to do something that could be done in 1 step. Really? That'd be great.
Yeah.
How about a checklist to make sure we have what we need before we leave the shop? That'd be a good idea. Like that's what ends up
Yep.
informing your project list too.
And I'm going to ring the bell here for a minute
Uh-oh.
too, and I'm going to issue a warning to all the listeners out there who are in these leadership positions. You're hearing this conversation about listening to your frontline. Don't think for a second that you know better than them. That's a
Oh,
very, very overarching statement, right? Because there are so many different levels of intelligence, and you can learn from anybody that you meet. And so if you're walking around the office or your business thinking that, you are on this pedestal, or you're, the captain, so you should know all that they know, you better check yourself, right? That's where the humility part comes in. I've seen this 1,000
so
times.
good.
Like they don't know anything I don't know. Well, they do. So shut the hell up and listen.
It really was the worst thing becomes the best thing. I don't know anything. I can't pick up a screwdriver without getting hurt. So I never assumed that, and it really worked to my benefit. So when I ride along, I say things like, what should I know that I don't know? Give me some
Mm,
context on this resistance. What if you were me, what would you do? Because I can affect change. I'm just not sure what's happening. And when you talk like that to your team members, what do you think is our biggest challenge right now? What do you think we're doing that works? What do you like about how you get paid? What do you hate about it? Does your family know how you get paid? Like things
mhm.
like just questions to get them kind of in on the game, because what I have found over and over again, this is why I love tradespeople so much. They want to fix things. They want to
Yeah,
help. They're
they're fixers.
I'm going to cry. I love them.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I
All
love
right.
them. I love them.
All right. I want to, we got about 15 minutes left.
Okay.
I want to ask just a few more questions if it's all
Okay.
right. I want to get tactical a little bit on one of them because I think it's just too important to ignore. And I just want to get your take on this because you have so much knowledge and wisdom around it. So I just read a statistic, Ellen, not long ago, that 80% of businesses fail not from lack of profit, but lack of cash flow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so, there's all these narratives. We talked about it, about how, what's the most important metric in business. Now you have both of these, I think, in your top 3, right? Cash
Sales,
and
profits,
profit,
and cash. Yeah.
sales, profits, and cash. So here's the thing. Cash flow reveals truth fast. What early warning signs show up in cash flow before anything else?
This is how I figured it out. Let me just
Yeah.
tell you the importance of cash. And I've seen this happen with startup businesses with some of our franchisees, and it's a bit of a heartbreak. This is what can happen. Until you have some sales, you got no hope. Like this business does not exist. So
Right.
sales is the first metric we got to get after. And you're going to make some bad sales, some sales that you wish you hadn't made, whatever, but get enough heft on the top line of that profit and loss that allows you to cover your expenses and to make a profit. So profit would be the second thing to pay attention to. And all
Mm.
of these things happen quite quickly. Like within the first month, I want to pay
Hmm.
attention to all of this. So we got to get enough sales. You can't be looking at labor as a percentage of sales if we only have $1,000 in sales all month. You got to get enough heft that we can cover those basic expenses like rent. You're not going to eat, you're going to eat top ramen, but we got to make sure that we have charged more than it costs to be in business and we end up with a positive number. Because if we lose money, that loss is going to reduce your cash flow. And as long as you have cash in the bank, you won't notice this. So you'll think, well, new businesses always lose money. It takes 5 years to break even. All this other stuff they don't tell you. You could be profitable from day one. That is possible, and I've
Yeah.
seen it happen. All right.
Yep.
So you're going to eat ramen, you're going to be really lean and mean, but you're going to make sure you don't lose money because the math works like this. If sales minus expenses equals a loss, it's going to come out of cash and you're going to create debt once you run out of cash. So now we'll put it on credit cards or we'll stack it up at the supply house. So there's no other, once you understand how the balance sheet and the profit and loss work, there's no other mathematical outcome. Now,
Yeah.
you might borrow money from your mother-in-law. She infuses some cash, but she's got equity in the company now, or it's a loan. But it's not going to solve your problem if you still lose money. Now, other owners who are going to want to get paid back, investors, are now breathing down your neck, and
Hmm.
then your debt is going up. So until you get really profitable and collect that profit in cash, don't let it get stuck in accounts receivable, you're not going to be able to get out of that hole. And that's what
Yeah.
happens is even if they're profitable, the money's stuck in accounts receivable, or they created so much debt at the beginning when they were losing money that now servicing the debt or paying
Yeah.
down the debt is taking all their cash. That's it. Like there's no other moving parts here. That's what I mean about business is easy. So you got a lot of debt, you're losing money. I would put a budget together. I would raise my prices to whatever they needed to be to create a top line that's going to be bigger than my expenses. And those expenses are what I want, not what I'm currently dealing with. It'd be a salary for you, a salary for your significant other, there'd be raises for your guys, like, be a little more
Yep.
generous here. There's more to this, but I'm trying to
Of
get you to
course.
think bigger, like be more abundant about the whole thing. So then you come up with a selling price based on that budget. How do we come up with that? We add all those costs of doing business, divide it by the number of billable hours we hope to have, maybe 1,000 per guy, basic break even, inflate it for profit, and then charge that. Like get better at that.
Yeah.
That's your hope. That's why I'm so born again about it. Like this is the way out of the darkness. And until you start making some money, you don't have any freedom. You don't have the freedom to ask questions like, what would I rather do? Because you're just on this treadmill, the hamster wheel, even worse, just like it's just getting darker
Yeah.
and darker.
And
Ah,
I want to make an important distinction too, because I'm big on freedom, right? That's personally in my personal life, I've got four pillars: freedom, presence, impact, and love. And freedom is nuanced. And the way you just used it, I want to clarify for my audience how I see it. It's freedom to, not freedom from. Freedom to
yep.
is, to your point, abundance, right? It's 100 times more powerful than freedom from. And so, that's freedom to take the trip, freedom to do what you want with the business, whether that's sell it, whether that's turn it into a legacy, whether that's, turn it into an ESOP, give it to the employees, whatever it is. That freedom to should be more of a driver than that freedom from. And so you mentioned freedom. I just wanted to
I
frame
love
that
that.
up.
I love the word freedom. My word for the year is love. That's my
Oh,
word
great.
this year. Yeah, yeah. My
Look at
word
that.
last year was easy.
All right.
It's a
All right.
great word. Okay.
We're moving to close here
Uh-oh.
pretty soon.
Okay.
Just a couple, two more questions.
Okay.
So, in the spirit of the entire episode, what we just talked about, right? Becoming an owner is as much as it's as much of an inner journey as an operational journey. What does no? Let me rephrase that. Who does someone have to become to steward a business well over the long term?
This is I'm afraid this is going to sound simplistic and trite.
I love it.
Become the best version of yourself and start to identify what it is that you do really well. Going back to Cameron Harold, he said the job description for a COO isn't the same for every CEO. What it is whatever the CEO hates or is bad at, the CEO supplements, the
Mhm.
COO supplements, so that you have this compatibility of skill sets. And I think that's where I am now. If you want to work all by yourself, you can. Like that's the craftsman, that's the master. So if that is your world, then there is money to be made. There is a business to be had if you want to also pay attention to the money and set some a direction to the company, even if it's all by yourself. I would encourage you to assume those two responsibilities, but the business will take form based on who you are. And that will be where the best the best business for you will be. And you know what? It might be a 3-year cycle, and then you do something else. How many guys do you know who sold their business and now do something else?
So many.
All of them. All of them
So
do.
many.
Nobody's
Yeah.
like walking the sunset. Ugh.
Well, let's
You
be
know,
honest. Business
yeah.
owners are certifiably unemployable. So,
I think I am. Well, I am employed right now. One of the things I wanted to share just before we run out of time too is that I think being a business owner now means embracing artificial intelligence, AI.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so especially knowing that there is something so wonderful about trades, like the drain cleaner still got to get the jet in the drain,
Mhm.
and not in our lifetime will that change. That's pretty exciting. We're still going to need that skill set, that physical, mental, operational, technical skill set. AI is scary and weird, and there's all sorts of things that Skynet,
Yeah, yeah.
all of that. Yeah. And this is another reason why I absolutely love working with Service Titan. Service Titan is committed to making sure that contractors can use AI to their advantage and replace the things that technicians and business owners don't want to or don't like to do. So I love working with Service Titan because they're going to coordinate these AI efforts. There's a zillion AI apps out there, but the app stack is getting complicated and weird. And so I'm just realizing that my computer's going to die.
Oh, no problem.
Let me plug this in for the. Okay, so Service Titan is committed to infusing AI at every step of the journey. Now, part of you as a technician is going to be, I hate it, I don't want to do it, I'm going to fight. Maybe, fine. I am embracing it, and I'm going to encourage you to open your mind to this because you might take too long to come on board. The contractors moving forward who use AI are going to have a distinct advantage. And there are things about being a technician that you probably hated. Writing down serial numbers,
Mhm.
having to document your jobs, having to write like a little paragraph, where all of this, all the housekeeping stuff that you don't like to do can be handled by AI. And it's so good now, and it's going to get so much better. And I think Service Titan is the horse to bet on here. Explore the different apps, explore the different vendors, sure. But for me, having a software program that's going to coordinate AI efforts and kind of bake them into each interface is really, really exciting. So I'll always have a hustle. Like I'm always looking for ways to share what I know and work and find something that's interesting. But I am born in the trades for sure. And I'm really happy to be aligned with Service Titan. And I just thought I'd give him a shout out because, like, one of the things I love to do is ride along with the techs and ask them these questions. Now, with Field Pro, we can listen in on those calls. Now, you can't just big brother them with apps like this. This is why you have to have a relationship with your guys and
Yeah.
help them get up to speed with AI as you go. But I think AI is here to stay, and don't take too long to get on board is
I
a piece of encouragement I would give you. I'm
I
scared of
agree.
it too. I get it. However,
It
here we
can
are.
be a steward for us. All
Well,
right.
it's gonna happen. I think that this is just like that. Don't wait too long. You know, just like those other things. What took you
Yeah.
too long to figure out? Don't wait too long.
Ellen, what's one question you wish more people would ask you?
I wish the conversation got to the team faster,
Mm,
because that's where I think all the good stuff really happens. Well, what if I show them the books and then they start their own business? You know, didn't you start your own business?
yeah.
Didn't you wish your boss had shared more with you? I think that I love service technicians. There's nothing I like, maybe even more than I like doing podcasts. I like hopping in the truck, riding shotgun, and seeing what service people do in the world, the
Yeah.
courage it takes, the know-how, the humor, the organizational skill, everything about being a technician. Absolute. What I love about my husband is what I love about the trades.
That's amazing.
Best people in the world. I know that there's other than trade people listening to this podcast. Whatever it is that you do, be really great at it.
No, that's I appreciate you saying that, and still the majority of our listeners are well within this field. So, Ellen, thank you so much
Um,
for coming on the show. Where can people find you? And I know you love to help people do cool things. Like, just give us the pitch. Where can somebody find you?
well, you can email me at erohr, E-R-O-H-R, at servicetitan.com. Also, I give away my book, Where Did the Money Go? At ellenrohr.com, ELLENROHR.com. I've sold a ton of these books. I like everybody to have them and share them and do whatever. I will also send you a copy of that financial quick check and copies of my books too. So we're going to exchange our addresses so that I can
Great.
get from blue to white, Kala.
Awesome.
I love
Ellen,
that.
thank you. Thank you so
Aw,
much.
you're wonderful, Josh. I've really enjoyed this. That flew by.
All right. Until next time, we'll do this again. All right.